but here we are.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining. We are back again. We are going to be going through your questions and things like that. So start getting your questions into the chat there, and we will start answering them. So Barry, how the hell are you?
I'm good. I'm really good. I've managed to get a little bit more gaming in this week, which is good. Obviously, I've been spending some time with this in the past few days, which is pretty nifty. Which is
What?
obviously
What?
dropping on Friday.
What is that in your hand?
That is the Razer Kishi V2. For Android, which is running. It's been brilliant. They've made some changes to it because they had the version 1, which is here, so you can instantly see the differences straight away. I'm sorry, my screen's kind of messing.
Don't worry,
up.
don't worry. You'll see it.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously we've got a review coming out on Friday of this because I've been spending time utilising it for cloud gaming, and I have to say my impressions so far have been positive. I'm not going to say any more than that.
Yes, you have to wait and see it. We're not going to be just dropping a game review with like a couple of hours sort of play on it. It's been well tested, and you're going to have about a week's worth of play time on that.
By the time the video goes live, I'll have been playing with it for about a week.
About a week, so it's going to be getting a hell of a lot of use there. So absolutely, it's going to be fun, and I can't wait to actually see what you think of it. And I'm just going to ask you the question: can you bring the chat up, because I can't?
I can't see the chat. No. I was going to message you like behind the scenes and say I can't see the chat, so I've got no idea what people are saying. But hang on, let me bring it up in another window so that I can at least see it, because it's it's not ideal when we're doing a Q&A and we can't see the questions. So
yep, I will do the same. So we won't be able to actually bring that up when it's there. So get your questions out there and we will answer them. So I'm going to say hi to Happy, hi to Zero, and hi to Victor. So yeah, Happy's already talking about Xbox news. Which xCloud news do you want us to talk about? Because there was a fair amount of xCloud news over the last 24 hours or so. There's a lot more than you actually may be aware of. We have the xCloud news, which is the games going into Game Pass for the next 2 weeks. We also had the news about mouse and keyboard support, along with possibly upping the frame rate and the resolution. And we also had a number of the cloud talks released as well. So
I was waiting to see if you were going to talk about direct capture.
Yes, I did. Yeah, you knew the word. For it. I didn't know the word, but also they've actually Xbox have actually came out, or not Xbox officially, but the people who are involved with Xbox have just came out and said all the dev talks, or most of the dev talks, are now available. So you can go and watch the dev talks where they're talking about xCloud and how they bring in the controls and stuff like that. It's actually pretty cool. I actually watched some of them beforehand, and one of the talks is about their cloud native games and their cloud native studios, which they are looking to bring on board. So it is really cool. So Happy is wanting to talk about a mouse and keyboard. What do you think of the mouse and keyboard news?
I mean, I think from an Xbox perspective, we know that obviously they've kind of teased and alluded to it, being a thing. I think it's a natural thing that has to happen, but I think it'll be a very good thing, because I think if you are on a computer, you're playing in the Xbox app or you're playing in Edge, you're absolutely there's going to be a ton of players out there that are going to want to utilize mouse and keyboard to get that competitive edge, whether they're playing whether they're playing in Fortnite, whether it be Halo Infinite, whether you want to get to grips with, Flight Sim. That's another one that I think would be, because it runs really well in the cloud, and obviously it's a little more complicated to play it on a controller if you want to really get into it. So I think the fact that mouse and keyboard's coming in there is going to be a brilliant addition.
What I'm actually looking forward to with the mouse and keyboard, I think that is starting to lay the groundwork for PC games on the xCloud. It has been hinted at before, like getting Age of Empires on there, and that new game which was announced during the Xbox conference, which is the big strategy game. We know that there's teases of it going to Xbox as well, but you want to play that with mouse and keyboard. Yeah, I like where they're going with this. So yeah. Mouse and keyboard does give you more options there, which is absolutely class. Shadow Dark, thank you for joining as well. More PC ports to xCloud and more PC gamers in the xCloud. Yeah, I think that is the long-term goal, because there are some games on Game Pass for PC, which will be are not on Xbox because they're PC games. Vampire Survivors on the xCloud. Yeah, I think that's the end goal, but I think we're still. I would say, I'll put a date on it. I think we're maybe talking this time next year before we hear about it. What do you think?
Possibly. I think. I mean, it may well be. It's the kind of thing for me that I think they probably want to. I think this changes for me, actually, because I think we were recently talking about xCloud and possibly rounding out the year maybe with 4K. I think this, what's now being talked about is probably very clear that maybe quality of life improvements to the service are going to take priority. And I actually think, those changes in mouse and keyboard are more likely to see by the end of this year than kind of anything dramatic in terms of resolution changes.
I know you were talking about it earlier. What were you talking about? What's it? Display? What was the weird name of it?
Direct capture.
Direct capture. What? I'm going to act stupid. What is that?
So. The best way to explain, and I'm almost kind of going to cross-reference here, but think back to last year's GFN news in terms of what they did with adaptive sync and of a lot of their latency reducing technology in the service. Xbox are doing a very, very similar thing with direct capture, and if some of those figures that they bandied about today, that have come out of kind of that talk. If they can get anywhere close to kind of some of those numbers, then that's, in terms of latency, that is going to make a massive difference to how xCloud performs, for sure.
Yeah, but there's some limitations if they're going to be using that, and I read that it can only, at this moment in time, it only can go up to 1440.
1440, and it can't do HDR either.
So there's going to be maybe compromises. If you want your 4K, you're going to maybe have more latency and stuff like that. But if you want to go with this other method, it's going to be more responsive, but you can't get a higher resolution than HDR and stuff like that.
Yep, exactly that.
Okay, so yeah, it's really Xbox are making the moves, and it's. Again, I would recommend people to go out and check out the videos and stuff they've put out. It's quite astonishing, some of the stuff they have got planned. And we do know from E3, I'm still going to call it E3, from the E3 period, they announced some pretty decent sort of announcements there as well. So there's games coming. We know that you can buy your games in the coming months as well. So
that's all exciting. It is heating up, and that's it's kind of making it a more competitive and maybe a more compelling option for some people. Because right now, I think if we're honest, if you're in the Xbox ecosystem in the form of either PC or console, xCloud is really supplemental to that. But when you start moving xCloud towards capability on TVs, being able to buy games or play games that you've bought, resolution upgrades, latency improvements, all those sorts of things, it does start to make it a much more compelling offering for people that are maybe on the fringes of that ecosystem.
Yeah, and that is the big gripe here, which I know Shadow has said here as well, where you may lose games which drop out from Game Pass. With what's coming in the winter time, was winter, where you can actually buy these games, I think that's going to lessen, and I think that's what you're probably going to see is the first batches of games. There is going to be games outside of Game Pass, I'm pretty certain there will be, but all these games which have signed up to Game Pass, I'm pretty sure you'll be allowed to buy them games, and if they were to leave, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be interesting to kind of obviously see how it pans out. But, it's... I think it feels like they're making the right moves, and they're kind of bringing the heat to try and spice up the competition in that space.
Yeah, and mouse and keyboard input is more sensitive to input lag, so this will be the ultimate test for xCloud. If they can nail that, it will be great. But I want them to push 120 FPS since servers have Series X in them, more than capable. Yeah, so I want them to improve all the time. I want everything to improve. But xCloud for me is improving at such a fast rate. If you don't play it for a couple of weeks and you jump back onto it again, it's completely. You can notice sort of wee changes, wee tweaks. They seem to be constantly improving. I have to say this, when I jumped onto Turtles last week on xCloud, it actually surprised me. I thought, that this is going to be absolutely ropey as anything, because when I loaded it up and it was the movie, it was very, very pixelated. But when you actually got into the game, it was running absolutely fine. I really hope that they have got to the top of these, and I think they have.
I think they've certainly made a lot of headway on it, that's for sure. I mean, you're absolutely right in what you were saying. It's been a few weeks easily since I've touched xCloud. And, as a result of kind of, testing the Kishi, I've specifically been playing on xCloud and other cloud services. And I've played through, 6 or 7 episodes of Turtles. I've been playing Flight Sim, Forza, Dirt. I've kind of been jumping into all these different ones to kind of get a feel for how the game's feeling, obviously with the controller. But you do notice the improvement. I've noticed a step up in how, Turtles performed really well, but Flight Sim I was absolutely astonished at from the last time I checked it out to this time in the cloud, because it was looking pristine. And then obviously going into things like Forza was much more smooth, much more responsive. There was less breakup. Dirt 5 still had, it was better, but still had little kind of areas of pixelation and digital breakup in the image. But you are right, it does. A couple of weeks out of it and jump back into it, you do notice the difference.
Did you? What other platforms did you try your Kishi on there? GFN, Stadia?
Yes. Yes, I've done Stadia and GFN, which have been...
I was going to say PlayStation Now, and you can't do them PlayStation Now.
No, I did. What else did I do it for? No, I've one of the ones that I need to get done in the next day or so is I want to try some Ant Stream on it, just to see how that kind of is as well, because that's been pretty cool.
So all in all, it is pretty good there. Yeah, that Shadow, that is the Kishi for version 2. This is Barry has got access to it, so thank you to Razer for supplying it. They said could we give him a bit of a test, and there is no restrictions on what we can say or not say. If we think it's rubbish, we will say it's rubbish. There is going to be an issue with it, or a slight issue with it, which you will probably talk about. It's not. It's a semi issue. It's a semi issue with it, depending on your phone type. Would that be the best way of saying it?
Yeah. I think that's the best way to say it.
You were thinking of the other thing, but no.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I was going to say, yeah. I might not admit to that one in the review, because I think that was probably more user error than anything else.
Yeah, so we're not trying to do we're trying to give the review proper playtime with a couple hours of playtime on it, not just a couple of days and away you go. We've had it going to be the guts of a week when our review goes up, which that review is going up on Friday, so keep an eye out for that. For xCloud is 1080, depending on where you play it. If you're playing it on Xbox, or if you're playing it out from on Xbox or on PC, it will be 1080. On phones, is it 720 still? On phones, I think it's 720 still.
I think Android's moved up. I don't know whether... Yeah, I'm pretty sure Android's gone up, but...
Shadow, no, there'll be no scores out from 10. You have to wait till the video, because we still want to do a bit more testing on it. But early indications are good for it. So don't be worrying about that. And Happy wants the new Kishi as well. So yeah, I think we all want it. I can't get it yet because it's not out for Apple until the end of the year. So this is only going to be for Android phones to start off with.
You get for having an Apple, so you have to wait longer.
Yes, I know. It's such a drag being in the Apple ecosystem here and having to wait for everything and all that. But yeah, you're enjoying it, which is the main thing. So that is pretty cool. I'm just trying to think there was something I was going to talk about. What can you think of? What there's something.
Don't ask me to think about what you were going to talk about.
I don't know. But yeah, it's been a fun and interesting week. I'm actually sort of glad that the news is sort of reduced somewhat. I'm looking forward till tomorrow.
What's happening tomorrow, Duncan? Tell us what's happening tomorrow.
See, I've just setting you up there. The PlayStation stuff launches over here in Europe, so that is going to be pretty good to see how that all performs. And yeah, I
am intrigued.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, you're intrigued. Why are you intrigued?
I'm just, I guess, obviously I know we've had little glimpses of, obviously some of the content and obviously Maker's top 5, for games to kind of dive into on PS Now. But it's one of those things that I think it's one thing watching from afar and seeing somebody else's, kind of gameplay, but I enjoy seeing that. But then obviously the perspective and that feeling of experience it for yourself can be very different. And I always like going through the motions of having that experience for myself to see how it fits with me, whether I enjoy it, whether I, and what I'm looking for in the, in the markers is it performing, is it easy, is it intuitive, is it giving me the right levels and all that sort of stuff.
I'm in mute. Yes, I was on mute. I'm remembering to mute myself because I am all clean here today. No background removers and stuff like that. But I'm intrigued to see what games are going to come, because we all know there has been slight differences between the regions. Are we going to get so many Brucey bonus games, or are we going to lose some games? I just want to see where that is going to be. And I know with PlayStation Now, for me, it's not as bad as people think it is. That's where I am with it. It has the worst reputation out from all the cloud gaming services, but for me it has been pretty decent, and especially if you've got a PC with the NVIDIA graphics cards where they can do some upscaling and stuff. I'm telling you now, if you've got one of them and you play PlayStation Now and that, you'll be hard press the I'm trying to find the right words here. You wouldn't believe it how good some of the games look on it. You would think you were playing on GFN or on Stadia or on xCloud, because everybody thinks PlayStation Now is so poor, but using that, the step ups are just absolutely mad.
Yeah, and that's something hopefully I'll get the opportunity, because obviously I've got an RTX card in my PC, so hopefully I'll be able to get the full benefit of that and kind of see how well it actually does perform.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So next week, Stadia are going to be announcing their pro. Oh, so we've got a couple of things we can talk about with Stadia. Pro games. Are we expecting any big bangers for the pro games, or do you think it's going to be the steady ones, which they are going to be doing? Like they're decent enough, but nothing OMG.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where my expectation level is. If that kind of makes sense. Obviously, try not to go into these things, without too much expectation at all, really. You can have hopes, but expectation kind of sits at the right level. For me, I very much see that they are going to do, kind of almost business as usual. One of Duncan's favourite little tracks. Couldn't even get the words out then. I think they're going to continue doing what they have been doing. I don't really feel like we're going to see too much of a switch up. Obviously, I know we had 7 games this month for Pro, which I actually think, in the past few weeks they've had a good. There's been some good titles to pull out that have sat in there. But I think we'll get middle of the road kind of carrying on.
Yeah, I'm with that boat as well. I'm just trying to think. Is there anything? I want a surprise out from Stadia. I want something that completely and utterly something left field from them, just to brighten things up there, because it's all just chugging along, and we've got a lot of people saying that, yeah, that's fine, I'm happy where Stadia is, and then you've got other people going, I want a lot more. I'm in the I want a lot more sort of end of things. So also, in Stadia land, they may be getting Saints Row. We spoke to Clock Media, and they gave us a statement that there's no news on a Stadia version, but we've actually seen now that they're actually the postcards are out there mentioning Stadia. So do we think it's coming to Stadia?
I think if it does, it's certainly not going to be at launch. But I mean, the proof will be in the pudding. I mean, you've got to think to yourself that if there is kind of promo material that is kind of going out to people in those packs, you kind of have to think there's got to be something in it. And I think the thing that will be difficult to probably manage and mitigate is the fact that, having seen those pictures in the wild, is that if it doesn't come, it doesn't get announced, or it doesn't turn up later, there's probably going to be some questions to be asked there as to why was it included in this print, but why is it not made it? Because I think there will probably be something behind that potentially. But hey, that'll remain to be seen. But if it does come, I wouldn't be in the boat of expecting it to be day and date. I would probably see in the region of I would say, if you were going to get it on Stadia, we'll probably get it by the end of the year. If it was going to drop, I think you'll see 3 to 4 months later.
Yeah, my feeling is there is a Stadia version out there. There's no question about that now. We've got the ESRB rating or the PEGI rating. We've got this documentation out in the wild, so it looks like there is definitely a Stadia version out there, which is absolutely great because Stadia has been void of any AAA games outside of Ubisoft, and it's good to actually see that there's an actual AAA game being talked about. I honestly don't know about it, because why haven't they announced it?
I mean, I think possibly. I think with a lot of the publishers, that's maybe a history repeating itself. Because that's something we've spoken about multiple times before, is the fact that they don't announce stuff early enough to the point that people maybe go and buy it elsewhere. So I'm hoping that that's not the case. I mean, I hope it's not the case this time round, and prior to launch we do get confirmation.
Yeah, I want them to come out and say it is coming as soon as possible, even if it's going to be late. Because Saints Row is a game you don't need to play at launch. You can wait a wee while for that before playing it. So yeah. I'm going to say it's coming and it's going to be late. And I don't think it's going to. I think it's going to be like a couple of weeks late. I don't think it's going to be a couple of months late. So I think it might be in a window. There's also one thing I have thought of, and people may laugh about this, is it could be part of a relaunch for Stadia, and that's one of the games they're going to come out with and say, we're back, baby, basically, and here's Saints Row, here's FIFA, here's this, here's that, here's the other. We're really back, we're coming out swinging. That could be part of it. Shadow and Zero, you just keep on popping the questions in there. We do not mind answering them at all. What do you think of Nintendo Cloud Gaming, like for Hitman 3? I think it's a very smart idea that Nintendo are going down the cloud gaming route, because as we know, the Switch is an absolutely fantastic device. I absolutely love the screen on the OLED. It is absolutely class. But because it's a weaker sort of device, cloud gaming can supplement that and bring some of the titles. The cloud offerings in there are a bit hit and miss at times. And if I was to get a cloud game, I would not get it on Switch. I would get it on GFN. I would get it on Stadia. I would get it on Boosteroid. I would even Shadow. Switch would be way, way down my priority list, just because there's other platforms out there. But I think it's a good option for Switch people.
Yeah, 100%. I think if you are, like a lot of people are, kind of hardcore locked into that Switch ecosystem, if you've been through that kind of journey with Switch OLED and that sort of thing, it provides a really good option for you to then be able to say, well, actually, there are some games that I want to play that we know the Switch is not capable of running, I guess natively at any acceptable level. But yeah, I mean, certainly, I've tried on the Nintendo Cloud. I've tried Control, and Control performed pretty well. I would probably say Control's on a par with Stadia from the Switch version. It ran pretty well. But I'm in the same boat as you in terms of where it would sit in my cloud choice. It would be at the bottom of the option. It's not going to be at the top. That's for sure.
But it's always good to have the option. Next question. Stadia needs to win me back, says Shadow. And Zero's basically saying the same as well. I think that's it. For a lot of people who were on with Stadia from the get-go, that would be where some of them would be. Just don't like where things are heading. Is Sniper Elite 5 coming to Geforce now?
I wish it would, but all signs at this point or all roads lead to no, which is, I think we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Duncan was, in fact, I don't want to steal your thunder too much, but Duncan was surmising that it could be connected to the fact that it is available on xCloud. They could have some kind of cloud rights for it to be on Xbox, and it will then appear later down the road. Obviously, we know some of the Sniper Elite series have been on Geforce now, and they've been pretty solid at getting franchises back, even if they've had to do it a little bit later down the road after launch. So, I mean, I wouldn't say all hope's out the window for Sniper Elite 5, but certainly at the moment, there's nothing to sort of say definitively, yes, it's going to arrive.
Yeah, again, it's one of the things. It isn't a good, like, no matter what platform it is, when games, non-returning games of previous franchises. If I'm a betting man, Sniper Elite comes, and Sniper Elite will drop about October, November time, is my thinking. I think there's some sort of time, sort of deal there that it can't go to any other sort of cloud platform until X amount of months, because we know Rebellion, like xCloud, they put stuff on Stadia, they put on GFN, they allow things on everywhere. So I think there is some sort of deal at play, because Microsoft, I know everybody, a lot of people think Microsoft are all the big cuddly bear and they're doing everything right for gamers, and they're doing that. They're not. They are a corporation as well, and a business first and foremost. And we've seen some of the stuff which has actually came out from Xbox, saying that they're doing some sort of deals. So it is something I think possibly has happened. It's a what we'll call a cloud exclusive on Xbox for the time being. I'm pretty confident that it is going to turn up at some stage. You just have to wait for the months to go by, because I've seen that with other games which were on Xbox, then eventually turned up to GFN. There's been a few of them.
Yeah, there's been a couple, and I can't. The other week I had a couple that sprang to mind, and I can't think of them right now. But there have been a couple of instances where, like,
Raji or something.
Yes, so Raji was out in kind of fall time last year, October, November, and obviously, it's dropped last month. Is it last month or this month? I can't remember.
Last month.
I think it might be last month. Okay, There we go. So, we're talking sort of 4 or 5 months possibly.
Yeah, and I think there is some. We're not calling it. People will call it shadiness. Other people will just call it business. But I think there is business going on in the background there, and I think Sniper Elite may have fallen foul to that. That's me just speculating, but I could be wrong. But because that's a nice old favorite for us, for something we're going to talk about a wee bit later. Will the let me say, yeah, good sales on Stadia at the moment. There's absolutely brilliant sales on Stadia if you want to buy games on Stadia. So it's one of them. Go there and see what you like. There's a couple of games there, like the Tomb Raider, for a couple of pound or a couple of dollars as well, worth picking up, because that's an absolutely good port there. Are you having a wee look at? Oh,
yeah, I was. Yeah, I was
thank
just
you
having
for
I was just having a quick flick through, and a lot of the stuff listed in the sale is not even like double figure cost. Like, it's some of the bigger titles that are sort of double figures. So, like, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dirt Year 1 Edition, Doom, Eternal. Everything else is, like, pretty much there or thereabouts, close to under £10.
So it'll be under $10. So,
yeah,
a couple of good wee sales you can pick up there.
Yep.
Polaris, thank you again for donating money there. Absolutely brilliant. We do have a members thing there. You can become a member. We are starting to push content out for members if you want to support us that way. We have a nice range of figures, starting from a £1 or $1 mark up to a fair amount, where you can get merchandise and stuff like that. And we are going to be pushing out giveaways on for members, and we've got one coming up shortly. So keep your eyes for that. And yeah, it really does help us because with so many different places to actually cover, there's a wee bit of money involved where you have to subscribe to all these different services and whatnot. So that is an option if you so wish. But the sales on Stadia, yeah, there is some good ones there. I'll be blunt as I normally am. Do not buy any games which are multiplayer focused if they do not have crossplay, because you will likely struggle to actually get some games there. But overall, single player games are fine to go for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's if that's your, if that's your niche and you're kind of, maybe you've come back into gaming and you maybe don't have a lot of time for gaming, but when you do, it is single player focused, then absolutely there's a ton of stuff that you can pick up and you can really enjoy in the sale.
Yeah. FIFA's now got some crossplay, so FIFA and Madden, if you're into American football, I've got a pretty decent offers, or Tomb Raiders there. I'm going to get shouted at like I normally do. I would stay clear of some of the early Assassin's Creed games. There's some of them are over, they look okay, but for me they don't play okay. They suffer from the 30 FPS itis, where it's for me it's akin to VR sickness, so just be worrying some of them. But indie games, fill your bits and off you go.
Yep.
But I'm still not buying games in Stadia, and I've stuck by that for the last 6 months to a year. So that's where I am with games in Stadia.
Yeah, I'm in the same, but I think the last game that I bought on Stadia was Madden.
Yeah.
Which was I think it was the previous iteration, so it would have been 20. Well, it would have been 22, so it would have been at the start of 2021.
Yeah, and just be careful as well. A lot of these games end up in Pro as well, so that's why it's sometimes really, really difficult to recommend buying games on Stadia. But Tomb Raiders would be safe ones, because all but one of them have been on Pro.
Yep.
So they're safe enough to sort of buy. Moving on, we've got another one. Stadia question: will the Crew 2 on Stadia get the 60 FPS update like the current gen consoles?
Difficult. Difficult. You could say it's Ubisoft, possibly, but based on previous experience, I'd say no.
My feeling is no. It's too much time, effort.
Quite possibly.
Not worth the cost. That's where I am with that one. Let me see. Would it be good?
Next one.
Okay, do you want to read that one out? I
sorry. No. Go for it. No, carry on.
No, you carry on. I think I skipped that, sir.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, Happy was asking, can someone get Saints Row to be a timed exclusive? And if so, who would it be?
It will be no one, because it's far too... That horse has bolted.
Yeah.
Timed exclusives come out when they were announced, not after they've been announced for all the different platforms. And technically it is sort of a timed exclusive.
Why is it a timed exclusive, Duncan?
On Epic.
Yes. That is a very good point.
Yeah. So technically but no, for consoles it's far too late for that. So I don't think that would be happening. Would be good for Nintendo if they open up xCloud GFN apps, but I understand why they don't. GFN a couple of weeks ago we were talking, and they were actually said that they want to put the GFN app onto the Switch. I'm not making that up. That was an actual quote there from them, where they were going, we want to get this GFN app out there for everybody to use.
Yeah, and I think it's a. Sorry, I'll let
No,
you say
no,
that before
no,
you forget it.
no. Just remind me we're talking about GFN after this because there's stuff I want to talk about, which
Good.
I which doesn't really fit into videos, but it's just a nice wee talking point. It's what I sent
Yeah,
you. It's what I sent you this morning, and then the tweet came out literally a couple of hours after.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think from the Switch's perspective, that kind of relationship with somebody like GFN, I actually think would be a good relationship to structure and broker because it's almost a harmless relationship because you're talking about a raw power that you can't deliver on the Switch. So you'll still be in the Switch ecosystem, you'll still be playing those kind of Switch exclusives, but then you'd also have the ability then to play kind of really high powered PC games and kind of some of those games that you might ordinarily miss out on. So I think that would be a good match. I think the Xbox could happen in terms of xCloud because I know obviously there's been rumors swirling about that for ages because I think a good old while back everybody was on shelf watch and Phil had the Switch on the shelf and stuff like that, so everybody kind of pays attention to these things, but I think there is an element of the element of the what I've just used for GFN you could probably use for Xbox in the same way, but equally I think there's also maybe possibly slightly more of a threat, in that sense if you open those doors to Xbox because you're kind of opening to an ecosystem that could start to draw people in, which could distract people away. Whereas I don't think the same thing would happen with the GFN.
Yeah, it's all possible, and this is the world we're now living in, and that gives me onto a point for next week because we do know next week it's a big week for Samsung, where their gaming hub launches where you can play. I'm going to butcher it. I know I'm going to, but you can play xCloud, you can play Stadia, you can play GFN and Utopnic.
Utomic, yeah.
Or see, I can't say it. You can play their apps on your Samsung TVs, so that is where we're sort of heading, and this is why it's so exciting, and it's going to up. This is why content is king, and it's something I have been preaching about personally. You're going to look at all these different services, and this is 3 out of them 4 services have a niche.
Yep. Yeah.
And
they all give you a compelling reason to play, don't they?
Yeah. I'm just saying I say 3 out of the 4 have niches. I'm not sure if you're agreeing or disagreeing, so I'm keeping you out from the barbs there, but I think 3 out of the 4 have their niches well met, and I'm really I want to see what's going to happen there. Speaking of Geforce now, it looks like we are going to they appear
But don't put it frozen then.
I have frozen and my things are going off in my ears. GFN is a platform now, and there's no people who say GeForce Now is not a platform are talking other codswallop now because there's SDKs out there for GFN and for things in regards to GFN. They are building something in the background here. What they are building, I haven't a Scooby-Doo, but there is now GFN SDKs, and does that make it a platform now?
You just kind of have to say if there's software development kits for it.
Yeah,
it kind of pushes it more towards being a platform than just a service, doesn't it? Not that being a service is a bad thing, but I think it certainly pushes that threshold in towards being more of a platform rather than a service now.
Yeah, and some of the stuff you can actually go and watch. You can sign up for a developer's account and you can watch a video. I was sad. I watched a video Was it this morning? Was it this morning I sent that? Or was it
I
yesterday?
think it was yesterday, actually.
Oh, it was yesterday. And there's actual things there, and I don't know what they're doing, but it's really, really interesting. And I can get to mention something again.
Go on then. What can you get to mention this week?
On live, and they're bringing part of their stuff here, which is for developers and publishers. They are bringing in what, if anybody played on live, the arena, basically where they are watching people play games, and they can watch everybody playing the game at the same time. So if it was a team-based game, they'll have all the screens going, all linked up and things like that. It's absolutely nuts. I want them to bring that into their GFN app so you can actually watch people and do that. It is absolutely mad, and it's the way they've got it set up is that they have to use a camera here, and if they're playing by keyboard and mouse, it actually maps their keystrokes, or it looks absolutely mad. And they demoed it using a Destiny, and if they wind back one person's video, it winds back all of them, so you can see them in one person. And if you're messing about with that, if you rewind it and fast forward it, it's nuts. But I'm just really, I want to see where they're going to go with this, because it's going to open doors if they're going to do that, because there was a couple of key things. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it, so I'm not going to go there, but you can actually see the photo that I pulled up there was very, very revealing, and you can actually see it. They actually tweeted about it today on their developer account, where they were saying, come and have a look at our software, our GFN SDKs, where you can link straight into stores and things like that. Very, very interesting where it's going.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think, when you were covering that, I know when you were pinging me messages yesterday about some of the bits you were kind of hearing, some of the bits you were listening to, and kind of a couple of those screenshots, there was stuff that you look at and you do get the overwhelming, the overriding sense and feeling that there is a shift, there is something happening that they're not maybe quite ready to talk about, and they're engaging in a particular way with a particular audience, i.e. at developer level, but it certainly feels like something's brewing.
Yes, I think there is something going on there. I ain't gonna come out with it and say it. I wouldn't be surprised if their storefront opens up there. I've said it. I've got, but I think a couple of months ago, or even that, a couple of days ago, I wouldn't have thought it. But now, just sort of what I'm seeing there, it wouldn't surprise me if some sort of storefront comes on board. But that could cause questions. But it's just really interesting where it's going. It's speculation and stuff like that, but there's GFN's SDKs out there now. So make that of what you will there.
Indeed.
Let me see here. Okay, QuakeCon 22. What do we think we will get, and what is your dream going down? QuakeCon is nothing. I don't really pay attention to QuakeCon.
I do in bits and bobs, but I don't pay as much attention to it as maybe I used to, because I think whilst last year they brought kind of Quake to Game Pass and to xCloud and that sort of stuff, I'd love them to talk about a new Quake, if I'm honest, and I think that's the one dream thing that if almost, I feel like for the last 2 years at QuakeCon I've just been like, give me another Quake, please. If that happened, I'd be happy, but other than that, it's minimal, isn't it?
Yeah. QuakeCon for me is, if I hear something in the build up to it, I'll watch it, because normally there's something leaked, even if it's half-hearted leaked, saying you better watch this because there's going to be announcements or something. But usually it just passes me by, if I'm totally honest with you. It's one of the things, if you're into it, absolutely grand, but it's not one really for me.
I think now that we've had kind of the DLC for Doom Eternal, and we've obviously had Doom 2016. We then had the next, Doom Eternal. Then we've had the Ancient Gods DLC, that sort of thing. I'm intrigued to see what they've got to talk about and to announce. So it'll be interesting.
Okay, Spark. We can't answer that question. I'm just saying that we just can't answer that question. That's all I can say on that.
Fair. That's a fair.
Yeah. Again, we will answer questions which we can answer. Will Stadia invest in new hardware for the cloud, or is it not worth their investment? Do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, I'll start with that. I think the way I see that very much is because primarily a lot of the focus is on immersive stream. I think because they're pushing that tech out to kind of partners such as Capcom. Obviously, we touched on AT&T. I think there's going to become a point where if they can get enough of a appetite from those kind of parties to run their own service and use immersive stream to do it, there will ultimately become a point where they have to, in order for it to become financially viable for people such as Capcom to run a service dependent on how they want to do it, or AT&T, how they want to add value to their customers in the States. How do they do that? Well, actually, we've got a cloud gaming service. Okay, so is it a supplement or is it something we really want to push? If it's a supplement for AT&T, they're probably not going to push the likes of Google to make sure that immersive stream gets all the tech upgrades. But if they start to potentially pick up some people that want to run it and leverage the technology, they will, no question, they will have to push upgrades to that service. Otherwise, whoever it is that runs that white label service, in terms of taking it to market, they're not going to keep up.
Yeah, I think we're already in that position, to be honest with you. I think that people think Stadia and immersive stream go hand in hand. For a lot of it, there's a lot of crossover. For immersive stream to succeed, they're going to need upgrades, because I'm just going to give an example of a game which is, sorry, there's no point rummaging on Resident Evil. Resident Evil have got that partnership for Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil 4, I'm getting this right, is coming out next year, and that is only going to be on current gen machines. Would Stadia be able to run Resident Evil 4 well if it's just targeting current gen machines? My feeling, it would run it. I think you'd be able to get it run it. I don't think it would run too well on Stadia. So for the immersive stream side of the house, I think there is going to need to be upgrades relatively soon, even to get things running at 1080p. So that could then benefit Stadia because they're having to upgrade the tech, but is there going to be enough justification of the cost to upgrade all the Stadia? This is where it starts to unravel, and this is why it is extremely complex. This is why I like what Amazon are doing and Microsoft. They're completely separate there. Luna is not part of Amazon's white label service, and xCloud is not part of Microsoft. This is why linking them too much in together, it just becomes really, really murky and complicated. But yes, I think there's going to be upgrades to immersive streams soon. I'm not sure about Stadia, because where Stadia is at this moment in time, it's not getting the games at this moment to justify the push up to higher hardware. But they're not getting the games because it's not on. It's a chicken and egg, and it's how much is Google willing to put into Stadia? Are they willing to. Again, so complex. So, yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Again, if Stadia gets the right games, it doesn't need the upgrade for a while. But again, it's all what the Stadia want to be, because we just do not know where they want to be at this moment. Greg, thank you for subscribing there. Sorry, was that too much on that?
No, not at all. I think you've covered and said what you wanted to say, haven't you? Which is the main thing. You've answered the question, so that's always good.
Yeah. What happens to ID and Orion? Is that work, or is that on ice? I think you're talking about the Orion tech, which was taken from ID software. You won't hear about that again. That's all going to be just pushed into xCloud.
Yeah, things will just happen.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there will probably even be things that they're talking about, like we were talking about earlier in the, in some of the dev stuff that's kind of coming out and people can go and sort of start looking at. There will be stuff embedded in there that's either plain text, plain wording, descriptive technologies that is very generic, that I bet you they would have picked up and would have been pushed in from elsewhere. It's just in that Xbox ecosystem now.
Yeah, the easy wins, just push it across, just like what PlayStation did with online and Gay, whatever it was called. I can never pronounce these names. Yeah. From Dave Perry, who's from Northern Ireland, like. Yeah. You see, that's all pushed across, and it all gets all mixed up and all that sort of stuff. Golden Sun, like your wee point, I'm just going to take the last bit of it. I still think cloud gaming is great for getting gaming more accessible. I 100% agree with that, and I can't wait till it gets pushed out to more and more places. Like, it looks like PlayStation Now, or whatever we want to call it now, is getting pushed into Brazil soon. Because they're up in their servers and stuff there, which is going to be great. I want them to get this out to as many different places as possible. And what I would actually love to see is some of the platforms like GFN are perfect for it. Boosteroid would be good for it. Obviously, you can do it with Shadow. Is to get people in different sort of areas who have never been able to sort of get into game dev to get into game dev and start making games and getting different stories and from all around the world. Because I think that because you just don't know what will happen.
No, you don't, and I think the biggest thing for cloud is really been, there's the elements that you were talking about there, but there's the element that it brings a lot of people back into gaming. There's a lot of people who have kind of, as they've kind of, we'll use the word matured, but I'm not sure it's the right word, and I don't really agree with it. But hey, you've kind of grown up, shall we say? You've kind of hit adult life, and you've got a working, you've got a job, you've got a family, you've got a house. Game time diminishes, and you slip out of it for a few years. And cloud is doing a tremendous job at bringing people back into that. And fundamentally, it absolutely has to make gaming more accessible to everybody. We're talking about regions like Brazil, where the cost of getting consoles is so difficult. It's so expensive, in those particular regions, that it is a viable way to bring gaming to people who want to experience it. And that's what it's about. The secondary point to that, of course, in bringing people in with cloud, is of course showing people the potential and showing people the different use cases for it and the fact that it works. That's one of the the big fundamentals as well. I think it's quite clear now. We're beyond that point of showing people that it works. It's about how we perfect it and how we take it to the next level. And that's encompass all of that for the people that are enthusiastic about it, and then take the element of making it available for everybody. I think is a fantastic place for cloud gaming and gaming in general.
Yeah. Cloud lowers the barrier and gets more people involved, but there is we all know about that. Shadow PC is definitely not accessible anymore and expensive. Yeah, I think Shadow undoubtedly is the best virtual PC in the cloud for consumers just to jump in and play. The price now is edging up and it is quite expensive. And when we're getting to the new tiers, which are coming out later this year, that's really, for me, that's showcasing how cheap in respects GFN is, even though you don't get it. But you get more with Shadow. They had the sweet spot before where you could justify it. I don't think you can justify it now.
Very difficult to justify. I think there are other don't get me wrong, if you try to have a cloud instance at that level of spec in Azure or Google Cloud or AWS, is it practical? Is it achievable? Yes. Are you maybe going to spend a little bit more, or are they going to make you commit to a certain period, that sort of stuff? But I don't think it's as much of a benefit it brings of having an entire PC in the cloud and the kind of the internet backbone that it has and that sort of stuff. I don't think it's a viable option that you can honestly recommend at this point.
Yeah, I think they've got work to do, and we're trying to reach out to them. We've been trying for the last 2 weeks. They're coming back to us, apparently. Okay. Sorry, but why does Boosteroid get way more games than GFM? Do you have more license agreements in place? Also, what is the service like? I have not used it. Okay, Boosteroid. We'll probably have something a bit more in Boosteroid next week.
Yeah.
There's a wee hint. Boosteroid gets round it because you technically install the game. I know this sounds a bit daft. From what I am led to believe, they're not all stored in the cloud like GFN has all the games up there ready to go. Technically, you install the game, and that is how they get around it. So it's more a virtual PC than GFN. I know people just say GFN's a virtual PC in the sky, but it really isn't. There's more things going on behind the scenes, and I think we've maybe alluded to that tonight. Boosteroid is just saying we're the virtual PC, and these people are installing the games onto it. So they're in sort of grey areas of a sort. So it's, or maybe not grey areas. They probably think it's black and white. They are installing games, and that's how they're doing it. So that is how they've got more games onto there. With Boosteroid, I've used Boosteroid and it works fine. It's only 1080, but it is running fine. I blasted some Borderlands on it, and yeah, it's pretty good going.
I need to dive into Boosteroid. I've been too busy looking at other things. I need to actually spend some time with Boosteroid, because the fact that it's 1080 60 it effectively doesn't bother me, because if the bitrate and how that performs and runs is good, a solid 1080 60 is going to put you in a happy place where you can kind of be like, you know what, I'm content with this. It's running well. It looks good. It feels responsive, it's smooth, all that sort of stuff. So I am looking forward to spending more time with it. That's something that's on the list to get done.
Yeah. We are going to be spending more time in Boosteroid because we know that other people want to find out more about it, and we know about the US launch, so we are definitely going to be doing more Boosteroid stuff in the coming days. So don't be worried.
And I think, as I was saying to you the other day, it's currently the only place that you can play The Quarry in the cloud.
And there you go. So, we're not mentioning The Quarry.
Okay, move on.
Move on. Simpleton. That sounds bad saying it, but thank you for joining. Gamescom. I'm not expecting much out from Gamescom this year. It looks like it's just going to be a show. You might get a couple of wee things, but don't be expecting big, massive announcements like we have had before Gamescom. Did you guys hear? We Polaris, thanks again. We covered that at the top of the show. We're really excited about that. The latency, yeah, really really good. Did I make a mistake by not completing the purchase of a Steam Deck, Barry?
Don't make me talk about Steam Deck. No, and by the way, I'm not saying don't make me talk about Steam Deck because I don't think it's a good idea. I'm saying don't make me talk about Steam Deck because I deliberated for far too long before I put my pre-order in, and now I have to wait until after October before mine turns up. And obviously Duncan's already got his, and I've recently actually seen and had some hands-on time with a Steam Deck, and I can tell you I regret not putting in my pre-order at like day one because I wish I had it now.
What I will say about the Steam Deck, it is the best piece of hardware I have got in years. I've got my PlayStation 5, I got my Xbox, I've got my Switch. I absolutely adore my Steam Deck. I was GFN and now Boosteroid to a certain degree have pushed me more into the PC gaming space. The Steam Deck has just there you go. You're definitely into the PC space now. Steam Deck for me is the perfect one to supplement GFN and Boosteroid. If you're playing on GFN and other cloud gaming services which are used to PC sort of architecture and stuff, you're going to absolutely adore the Steam Deck. If the games aren't on the cloud services, you can just play them on the Steam Deck. If they are, you play them on the go on your Steam Deck, and when you get home, you play them in full max on your TV or your monitor. It's that good. I cannot speak highly enough of it. And if you have a look out there in the wider gaming space, I have yet to see anybody go out there and say it's rubbish. Yes, it is far from perfect. There is issues with it, but them issues are completely minor to what the Steam Deck actually gives you. And cloud gaming and the Steam Deck, hand in hand, outstanding. And that is how I am doing most of my gaming now, is a combination of GFM, Boosteroid, and things like that. Steam Deck when I'm on the go. It's just class, and I actually love the bulkiness of it.
It feels good. It actually feels. I think my first impression was holy hell, that's bigger than I thought. Like, I knew it was big, but it was like, geez, that's much bigger than I actually even thought in my head. But when you actually then have it in your hand and you're kind of navigating the menu, you start to play a game, it actually feels perfect. They've got it to a point where it feels so good in the hand that it's, you know, they've clearly, there must be a hell of a lot of science behind that design in terms of making sure that ergonomically it is spot on for playing for long periods of time.
And the thing about it as well, when you pick up the Switch after playing on the Steam Deck, the Switch feels like a toy.
It does.
Yeah. But if you're a PC gamer or a PC cloud gamer, Steam Deck is a no-brainer. When they announced the Steam Deck 2, I'm trying to get it on day one again. I am completely and utterly sold on it, and it is the perfect combination. So, Asaya, yeah, you've made a mistake. Yeah. Pink Panther, thanks for joining. Uncle Hulk, I can't say it.
Uncle Hawks.
Yeah.
I'm not any better. The Scottish comes out there when I say Hawks.
Yeah, so you did yourself there. Yeah, GFN is not great in Brazil because it's doing the light sort. I have heard that, and I've heard they've actually shut down some of the R's and stuff as well. And so if you get 6, you get 4, or yeah, I don't. It's just over. From my understanding, it is completely and utterly oversubscribed. So this is why I think why Xbox did a big play. We can see Bruce, PSN going into there as well. So we Brazil's one of the key markets. I think Australia's as well, for similar sort of reasons, where hardware and game costs are much higher. And this is why the subscription model is really important as well. It gets you all the games without don't talk about that because I get in trouble when I say about that. Hi, Primo Ionic, thank you for joining. Can you see anything there?
Just having a quick. I think that's the Golden Sun 3DS put a really good point there in terms of saying he thinks that cloud gaming has a misconception that you need a really fast internet, but it's playable on slower speeds, like 5 to 15 megs, just for that as good a quality. And he's gamed cloud gaming on 4G with 5 megabit bandwidth.
There has been times when I've had better gameplay from a slower speed than a faster speed. There was a time for, I think it was a couple of months, where Stadia was actually better on a slower speed than if you actually had the faster, it wasn't dealing with it as well as the slower speed ones, which was completely nuts. So yeah, and you can actually change your settings in most of these places, so you can adapt to the speed. Because there's games you can just jump into, you only need to go in for a second to play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had my I was talking about playing xCloud earlier. I was actually playing Flight Sim on 5G, and it was like flawless. And kind of the 5G, particularly, the closer I move to the city, the faster it gets. But it sits at around about 40, 45 meg. But obviously, mobile data, the latency's higher, so the ping's higher, I should say. So, it can be a bit subjective as to how the experience is going to be, but it was absolutely. You will get a good experience from cloud. You just can't maybe max it out as much as you might want to.
Yep.
So, what else we've got? We've got Geek to Sneak. Thanks for jumping in. I hope you're doing well. Ghost GS says he thinks that Fall Guys will be on Geforce now. Polaris is also waiting, but he's conflicted because he might head towards a gaming laptop. Shadow Dark's making me feel better now. I pre-ordered Steam Deck on day one, and I'm in the next quarter, so that definitely makes me feel better.
Yeah, I was annoyed. I was going to make me sound like a complete dingbat. I got in within like the first 10 minutes, and I was annoyed I wasn't in the first quarter. and the reason was actually that I was right on 6 o'clock, and it just kept on freezing, and I persevered and got it there. So yeah.
If we got Sean what?
I was just saying Asias's comment that he didn't do the 17 TR. Get on the Steam support, and if you're still relatively in it, they may be able to bump you back into the queue. I have heard people who have missed that and have actually been able to get back into it.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely give that a try. Sean McCreary is asking if there's Asian service for Boosteroid. I know obviously they've just launched in the US, but
I don't think
I don't think there is at the moment. But we can double check. We can ask questions and potentially come back. Come back to that for maybe next week or something similar. Shadow Dark saying that the gaming laptops are not good for upgrades. That is a really good point. Bar RAM and maybe SSDs. Beyond that, you don't really have anything beyond extending the life of a gaming laptop, really. Not unless, in fact, no. Full stop. RAM and SSD is about your lot. and that's pretty much it. So where are we next? What else have we got? So Uncle Hoax is saying, yeah, xCloud is much more stable. The provider's Abia, but I call them Abysmia.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh dear, I thought that one was quite funny. So, and then again, yeah, obviously, cloud gaming is Golden Sun, I should say. Cloud gaming is about stability of connection rather than raw speed, and that is a really good point.
Yeah, and Uncle Hoax, I now know some new things about Uruguay. Do you know what it is?
What do you know about Uruguay?
That they've got
What have I missed?
They've got a new wonderful striker, Darwin Núñez. He's a wonderful player in Liverpool.
Oh, why did I walk into that? I wasn't even thinking that. Oh my god.
Yes.
Dear, oh dear.
Yes,
I'm gonna move on swiftly because Shadow Dark is asking what model Steam Deck did you get?
I got the 512. What I would recommend people getting is the 128, is it? The lowest model?
The 64.
64. Get the 64 gig one and use the money which you save from getting the 512 for an SSD. That is my recommendation there, because there's not much of a difference apparently between the two. Yes, it has a reflective screen, but it's not worth the extra money. So if you're going to get a Steam Deck, get the 64 gig and just max buy the wee SD cards.
Yeah, there we go. Some sound advice from Duncan there. I guess I could pick the next one up from Happy because I know that. Well, I don't think you've been able to try it.
No, because I'm not allowed 120 FPS.
So I have very recently. I was in the last round of updates before they rolled it out to all applicable 120 FPS phones. My Android, my Galaxy Fold, was in one of the last rounds to roll out, and I have to say, it's because I'm so accustomed to playing 120 FPS on my PC monitor, to then go and then play that on my mobile as well, was brilliant for me, because I was getting to the point where I was so accustomed and so comfortable playing at 120. I didn't want to drop back to 60, so it runs really, really well, or certainly in my experience it does. Yeah,
so my advice for people is do not try 120. No, it's if you notice the difference between 30 and 60 and it really does your napper in or does your head in, don't go for 120 because you'll want to play everything at 120. That would be until things are steady, and most games come at 120, or you can tweak it to that sort of level.
Yeah, definitely.
Andrew Mama Knows, thank you for joining. Just as we are, I think we're beginning to finish up. If anybody's got any more questions, just drop them in there. If not, we're going to start wrap this up. With the screen on.
Sorry. I just seen Zero's comment and I was like, that is absolutely the case.
Yeah, you can't miss what you haven't tried. Exactly. That is what I'm going for. What was I saying? Like the screen, there's an anti-glare thing on the 512. It's basically not worth the extra money. That's so. Yes, you can go for it. There is a bit of a difference, but the tests that people have done said it's not actually major, so don't be worrying about it. Just get the cheaper model and just max out, save your money and max out the SD card. So there we go.
Superb. I'm intrigued now. I need to know. Anthony needs to let us know what he has to see to believe.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is, but I'm intrigued.
Shadow, the review will be coming out on Friday. Are you going to be giving it a rating out from 10 or anything, or are you just going?
If people would like a rating out of 10, I will give it a rating out of 10. I do not mind.
I prefer the 5 stars.
You prefer the 5 stars? Okay.
Yes. The reason I like the 5 stars is the way I see 5 stars is how movies get 5 stars. You can go watch a movie with a 2-star rating, and you still enjoy yourself and things like that. It's not the greatest movie, but you can still. And that's what I want to do for our game reviews. Yes, we're going to be doing game reviews in the coming weeks, or sorry, coming months. I would should probably say. We're going to be giving. I'm going to do a 5-star system, and it'll be the full 5 star. So if we give a 2-star, it'll still mean it's a decent enough game. But there's flaws and stuff. But yeah, we can have a wee think about our rating system for the thing after.
Of course, absolutely, we definitely can. Where are we? Anthony was talking about the 120 FPS.
Yep. I'm not touching it.
Duncan literally, he will not touch it because he's watched me go through that journey of going, I have to play at 60 FPS.
Yes. With more games coming in 2023, do xCloud need to upgrade the resolution? No. To 1440, 124K. What do you think? I think they don't for the time being. I don't think there's any rush. Because it's a supplement for people at this moment in time. When they bring out the dongle, yeah, I think that's when they're going to go, we're doing it now. It's because that is going to be the console replacement rather than the supplement, which xCloud is at this moment in time. I can see them starting to play about near the end of the year, maybe put in the beta program, whatever it's called, the Xbox Insiders, and start pushing that up that way. But I don't see it going mainstream for a while yet because there's just no need for it.
I think they seem to be very content on perfecting. Or in improving and that sort of stuff. So absolutely, I think I don't think there'll be a rush to get it done. Put it that way. I think they want to get a happy, stable place where it runs well and kind of go from there.
Yeah. I think that question will be answered, Shadow, in the review.
Yeah, it definitely will because I've got a V1 and a V2, so it will 100% be answered.
So Anthony's going to be splashing around on a fancy TV. I'm assuming that's a fancy TV. Probably is a fancy.
Depends whether I can't remember. I think the C1 has got a 2.1 HDMI, so it should support 120 hertz. But what I'd say to you at the moment is, if you are buying a TV. 1, because you need a new TV, and 2, you've got a PS5, make sure that you're buying something that is suitable. Make sure it's got at least a couple of 2.1 ports on it, which means that it'll be capable of that VR, the variable refresh rate, 120 hertz. There's definitely a couple of things to look out for when buying a panel, and they would be some of them. The other thing to look at is whether or not it's an 8-bit or a 10-bit panel. But that'll be dependent on the size of the screen you're buying.
Yep, so definitely do that. And make sure your HDMI cables are compatible as well, because some HDMI cables are only rubbish ones.
Yes, they are.
Just make sure you get the proper sort of jobbies. So I'm just going to thank everybody for joining us. Sorry, we've just realised we tried the beta thing tonight on the program we use, and I think it killed our chat messages. So we won't do that for a wee while.
Yes, yeah, I think that is what's killed it.
Yep, I realised that afterwards. So I can go through the rest of the week's content, which is coming up this week. Thursday we have GFM Thursday. Friday we have the Kishi review. Saturday we have some gameplay from PlayStation Now. Saturday we will have our roundup, and Sunday we will have our roundup, and on Monday our members video goes out, and our 2 members videos go out on Monday because we are launching we're going to be taking one of a big topic, and we're going to have a wee discussion on it. So that will go out to our members on Monday, along with the weekly update for our members, and then that will drop on for everybody else next Friday.
Yep, it is indeed. And then I think have we also got something hopefully coming on? Is there a little extra special thing coming on Monday? Maybe.
Are we doing it live on Monday?
No, not that one.
The thing I'm doing tomorrow?
Yes, that thing.
We're just keeping that as a secret at the moment until I've got it done.
Okay, all right.
We'll make sure it's all goes to plan.
Well, no pressure now because we've teased it enough. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there might be something interesting which I hope people will like, because it is a bit of fun. So we've got that coming maybe on Monday. We're actually planning things well in advance. The Steam Summer Sale starts tomorrow, so we may be doing our challenge, where we get a set amount of money, and then we have to say what games we would buy to play on GFN for that amount of money.
Indeed.
And you can play
always
along
lose
too.
this challenge. Always lose it.
Yeah. We've got another wee question before. Can we use any wireless controller like Red Gear and Cosmic Bite for Xbox Cloud gaming? I'm not sure what that is.
I'm not sure, but I don't think so, because I think it has to be like an Xbox certified controller in order for xCloud to pick it up as it stands. I don't think they've opened it up beyond any kind of third-party controllers.
Okay, cool. So thank you all for joining. Every week, same time, same place. You bring the questions, we do the answering, and you set the agenda in the cloud gaming space for the next week ahead by asking us the questions. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.